Why can't I get motivated to exercise? This is the question that came up yesterday in my Think and Thin Advanced live Q&A calls, and I thought it was such a good question, and I had a very different answer than I've ever had before, and so it just got me thinking, you know what, I should share this with my community and see what you guys think about it, because it's kind of new information. All right, so these are my top 7 strategies for getting motivated to exercise. And the first thing that I want to say about exercising is, especially in my community, because we're tappers and because I teach tapping, one of the biggest problems that stops us from going to exercise is the fact that we say, well, because I'm not motivated, I need to tap on it. Oh, I must need to tap on that. And you're going to start hearing me talk about this more, because I think sometimes having that attitude can actually sabotage our efforts as tappers. So today what I'm going to talk about is mental strategies, and I'm going to talk about some things that a lot of people are doing wrong. And if you shift these very, very simple things, it will make it so much easier to exercise. All right, so the first one is, do not make an excuse that you need to tap on it, okay? The second thing is that your motivation to exercise cannot come from weight loss. Now, I know that sounds weird, but what I mean by this is the reason that you're exercising can't be so that you can lose weight. We know that that's a byproduct. Excuse me. We know that that's going to be a byproduct eventually, but that can't be your main motivation for exercising. Your main motivation, the way to shift this is to focus on improving, okay? To focus on kind of competing against yourself or just improving the more you do it. Your body, the reason that you can't have the attitude of, I need to exercise to lose weight, is because your body actually doesn't want to lose anything. So you will sabotage and you will fight yourself, and your body and your brain won't let you go to the gym if you're doing it to lose weight. And then once you're there, you're gonna be beating yourself up and going, oh, I have to do this to lose weight because I'm fat, and blah, blah, and it's gonna be this like constant mental dialogue that's not positive. Okay, so that's the second shift, is to not do it so that you can lose weight. The second thing is, I kind of already mentioned that, or the third thing is compete against yourself. So focus on getting stronger if you're lifting weights. I love to lift weights, and so that's what I focus on. More flexible if you're a yogi and you want to start doing yoga. Even if it's just walking, you know, whatever it is, start with 5 minutes a day and focus on, you know, maybe the next week you get to 7 minutes. All right, so the trick here, I've read a lot about this, I've researched this, I've studied this a lot over the last year, habits and habit forming and how we form habits as humans. The key is to start small and be consistent with it. Keep sticking to it, okay? That brings me to my next point, which is, I think a lot of us, especially as women, we give ourselves too big of a commitment. We give ourselves, you know, I'm gonna work out 5 days a week. 5 days a week might not be realistic. And so when you don't exercise 5 days a week, and that's the amount of time you said you were going to exercise, you end up feeling bad about yourself and you feel defeated. So rather than feeling motivated to exercise, you feel defeated because you feel like you're not doing a good job. So it's much better, and this is so counterintuitive. When you do this, it'll be really awkward when you first get started, because you know that, you know, walking for just 5 minutes a day probably isn't going to change your body. And it's true, that's not going to change your body overnight. But what will change your body is the consistency of showing up every single day, or those 3 days a week. I only go to the gym 3 days a week. I work out 3 days a week. I walk on other days, but I only do that if I feel motivated and inspired. If I don't, the only rule that I have given myself is that I show up 3 days a week and I work out my hardest. Now, that used to just be 2 days a week. Okay, so, and again, this wasn't about, I wasn't in the mentality of, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna work out so that I can lose weight. It was, I wanna change my body. I wanna be the type of person who goes to the gym. And so when you start with that intention in mind, so it's like, I wanna be a healthy person, right? You have to decide who you want to be. That's the most important part when you are deciding to exercise. You have to decide that I want to be a healthy person. I want to be a fit person. I want to be the type of person that does X every single day, right? Moves my body every single day. So let's see. I'm just looking at my notes here. Do you guys like this? I don't know. Are you, okay, cool. I'm seeing you guys. I'm seeing some likes. Tell me in the comments too, what else you'd like me to talk to you about. I'm not done here. Also, just so you know, I know sometimes our videos are hard to find. If you want to come back to this video, the easiest way to do that is to click the share button, and that will paste it to your wall. And then you'll always know that you can go to your own wall to remember and to save this photo, or to save this video, sorry. So there's a lot of steps here, and I want to make sure that I get through everything, and I want to make sure that you remember all of them too. All right, another part that I want to talk about with this, and it came up yesterday in the Q&A video, is habits. So exercising is basically, if you're not already doing it consistently, it's basically like building a new habit. And again, like I said, I've researched habits over the last year, and the research is like, it's astounding. When you try to implement a new habit, if you just focus on one habit, your success rate is something like 84%, that you will continue to be consistent with that habit and it will stick, and it won't be the kind of thing where you just implement it for a couple of days and then you fall away. If you try to implement just 2 habits at the same time, your success rate drops to something like 4%. I mean, it's like obnoxious. So as soon as I understood that, and as soon as I read that, it made a lot more sense to me why I wasn't able to start, more than one thing at a time. Because I think a lot of people do this, right? We say like, okay, I want to change my life, so I'm going to start eating healthy, and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to do all these things. And you try to change too many things at once, and then after a couple of weeks, you fail. And I have different explanations for this when it comes to food addiction and food cravings and things like that. And those are the things I talk about in my program. If you're my student, you know how I explain this in different ways. So sometimes there are psychological and emotional addictions to foods and to sabotaging and things like that. So I'm just talking about mental strategies. So it's important to know that you're not doing these things wrong, because if you're doing these things right, and then you still have a problem with food and you still have a problem with exercising, then you know there's something deeper going on. So it's important first to fix these things, and then to see if you can be consistent from here. And then from here, if you can't, you know there's a deeper issue that we need to address with tapping and some of the other therapies that we use. So if you are trying to implement more than one thing at a time, or if you're in, the women that are in the advanced program, they are going through massive changes. Like I call it like it's like surgery for your brain. And so a lot of times in that program, I tell women, actually most times, 100% of the time, I say, don't even focus on your weight or trying to lose weight or anything like that, because right now we're just focusing on the mental and the emotional stuff, and there's really no room for anything else. And so 100 times, 100% of the time, if women try to focus on the techniques and clearing and the work that we do in that program, and they try to eat healthy and lose weight at the same time, they always end up sabotaging themselves because there's just too much stuff going on, okay? So take a look at your life and take a look at the things that you're trying to change, and make sure that you just focus on one thing at a time. And then when that one thing is solid and you're doing it and you don't have to think about it, and it's something that you just love and you get up every day and it's just part of who you are, then you can think about implementing another thing. Okay, leave me a comment if you want to know more about, if you want more of these videos, tell me what you want me to teach you about, because I have a huge list, but if it's not what you guys want to hear, if it's not stuff that you want to learn about, then obviously I won't teach it. So just tell me, what are the things you're struggling with? What are the things you want some help with? Leave me a comment, and then I'll know what to do for this next. All right, the other thing that really helps me get motivated to exercise is, it's a little bit funny. I play on some of my my insecurities, okay? So some of my insecurities. So I grew up with parents that were very much into achieving and getting things done and being the best. And so while I am grateful in a lot of ways to have that parenting style, it has also made me very hard on myself. And so these are things that I've tapped through. But because I know that I have this personality where the little girl in me wants to please my parents, I tend to pick gym partners that are more motivated than I am. And I know that their psychology is that they're going to be disappointed if I don't show up. So some part of me actually, I kind of trick myself into feeling ashamed of myself if I don't go to the gym because I don't want to let this person down. And I know it's because of the relationship that I had with my authority figures. Again, this is something that we talk about. If you're a student, you'll understand what I'm talking about. This is the relationship that I had growing up with authority in my life. And so I'm using it as a way to motivate myself in a positive way. And so you can kind of take a look at that and go, even though my motivation is coming from shame and not wanting to let this other person down, it's actually a healthy motivation and it's a healthy shame, if that makes sense. So again, I'm telling you this so that you can look at your own life and see, what your personality is. And again, for me, it's always going to the gym with somebody that's more motivated than I am. I know that if I don't show up, they're going to be there anyway. And so, if that's a strategy that works for you, or, maybe it's just hey, it's with a really fun girlfriend, and that every time you go to the gym with this girlfriend or go exercise with this girlfriend, that you're going to have a lot of fun with them. Another way that I've gotten myself motivated to exercise is I was doing walks on the beach. I just moved to LA, to Santa Monica at the time, and I love to listen to podcasts and walk on the beach. So that was my thing. So every day I would pick a different podcast, or I had my favorite podcaster and I was listening and I was learning. And that's the space that I was in for a period of time. Then, and I think this is another thing that screws people up, is I was out of a space of where I didn't want more information in my brain. Okay. So I didn't want to be learning anymore. I was out of that phase of my life, but I wanted to keep walking. And so I noticed that I wasn't motivated to exercise anymore. And it was actually that I wasn't motivated because I didn't want to have any more information. I didn't want to listen to the podcast. And so I noticed that, and I shifted it to, I started calling my friends that were on the East Coast. So East Coast is awake 3 hours before me. My sister's over there. A whole bunch of my friends live in New York. And so I use that as an opportunity to catch up with them and to walk along the beach and talk to them. And so that ended up making me, again, motivated to continue to exercise. So a lot of times our strategies and our motivations will need shifting, and it's not necessarily anything wrong with you. It just might be the environment. It might be something else that's going on. So I just really want to encourage you to really, really analyze and figure out why you're not exercising, why you're not motivated. And it might not be something that is deeply psychological. Okay. So anyway, if you like this video, just let me know in the comments. Again, let me know also what else you want me to teach you. I'm going to start doing these live videos more often, and I want to teach you guys a whole bunch of cool things that you want to learn. So again, if you want to save this video so that you can come back to it, click the share button. That's the easiest way to know that it's going to paste to your wall, and then you can always just go back to your wall to watch it again. All right, sending you lots of love.